New York City at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Fourth Branch presents discussion, debate, commentaries on social, political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as war on blacks. Are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense. Welcome to the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. This is the segment 2 of our program. What is in the news? Well, there is plenty. Unita Blackwell, she just passed at the age of 86. Well, she's not just any individual, she was an outspoken civil rights activist, born as a sharecropper in segregated South, and she rose to become the first African American woman to win a mayor's race in Mississippi. Now, this is no small feat. In case you don't know what that means, Mississippi was one of the most atrocious, horrible state towards blacks in terms of torture, in terms of punishment, in terms of treatment in general. And that up to today, the state of Mississippi remains, well, even if in perception, it remains a state that, in the mind of blacks in general, anyway, not welcome to blacks in particular. Yes, there are blacks, plenty of blacks living in Mississippi. In fact, following the Emancipation Act, which officially said slavery was over, there were a lot of blacks who could not escape the South. They did not have any means to do that, so they end up staying in those areas, and they live in extreme poverty. In a program that we started a while back when we were talking about slavery, which we paused for a moment, we will come back with that program very shortly. Quite possibly, if it's not starting tomorrow, it will be the following Saturday, in which we will continue the conversation about what happened to black beyond slavery. Well, today we honor Unita Blackwell for having such courage at a time when it was almost unfathomable for a black individual in general to even muster the courage in Mississippi to even lift up your head, let alone run for public office. And she became the mayor of a small town. Yes, it was a very small town, with only just 500 residents. Mrs. Blackwell was mayor from 1976 to 2001. The country needs more of those people with courage to stand up against discrimination. Donald Trump is wrong to call the media the enemy of the people. Throughout history, dictators, authoritarians have always tried to delegitimize the media in order to get away with corruption, scandal, and yes, even abuse. Adolf Hitler did exactly the same thing in 1933, accusing the media of fabrication. Journalists are not in the business of fairness. Our only business, is to be objective. It is our duty to hold Trump and every administration accountable. Today, it is urgent. It is necessary. It is critical. Our very freedom depends on it. Well, the next piece of news is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is back in the news. Yesterday, in an exchange with a CEO of a pharmaceutical company, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as fondly referred to in the news, for short anyway, she was trying to focus on a very important point, that here in the United States of America, pharmaceutical companies are allowed to charge an exorbitant amount of money for drugs. And the drug in particular that was in question during the time that AOC was questioning the CEO of Gilead, that's a pharmaceutical company, and the drug in question is Truvada. Truvada is a drug that helps people with HIV to fight the disease and to prevent, or at least the very least to diminish the transmission of the disease. Here in America, the drug costs over $1,500. Now, Alexandria was trying to say that why in the world that Truvada costs almost $2,000 here in the United States, and in Australia, people under the same circumstance can get the drug for just $8. Why is that? Now, while the CEO, Daniel O'Day, I believe, that's the name of the CEO for Gilead, while the CEO could not defend why in America they squeezing the consumers, he focused on trying to correct Ocasio-Cortez by saying the drug is not $2,000, it's only $1,780. It could be funny if it were to be
a skit in SNL, but it is people's lives. And Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was right to take the side of the consumers, of the constituent, and ask the question. But what makes, when you find something like that, and that's one of the things that I personally try to understand, why our government is supposed to be a government for the people, and yet the representative, the legislature in Washington, they always take the side of the businesses, they always take the side of those who already have, all the while squeezing the consumers, those very people they supposed to legislate on behalf. And I always say that we the people are somewhat responsible for the problem, because when you have someone like Miss Alexandria Cortez making that argument, you have a number of people in the media, especially people at Fox, people on the right, that's actually bashing her for standing up for the constituent. You see, the problem is actually us, because we don't seem to know what we want. When someone stands up for on our behalf, if that person is not a Republican, all of a sudden all the Republicans pile up and bashing the individual. Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez happened to be right to ask that question, because there are two reasons that I can think why pharmaceutical companies shouldn't be charging us, the U.S. citizen, that much money, because we subsidize research for drugs. In other words, before the drug even comes out, we're paying those pharmaceutical companies to do research to bring the drug to the market. And after they become successful, instead of returning the favor to us, they even charge us an arm and a leg. The same drug, we're not talking about a generic drug, the same drug in Australia costs $8. Yes, you hear correctly, $8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here in America, it costs almost $2,000. You see, if you want something to be done in the country, you as a constituent, you better start thinking as a constituent, not as a Democrat or a Republican. Because as long as you continue to think, if it's not a Republican doing it, it's not okay, it's not good, then the country will never move forward. Well, Mike Flynn is in the news again. Remember how much after William Barr came and tried to spin the Mueller report, Donald Trump did not do anything wrong. In fact, William Barr cast Donald Trump as a saint that's being persecuted, and all the Republicans join in the choir and claiming that there is nothing about it. Well, it looks like Mike Flynn has spilled the bin. Mike Flynn clearly provided information that says that Donald Trump was trying to obstruct the investigation. In fact, Donald Trump attorney has called Mike Flynn many times to ask that Mike Flynn did not cooperate with the special counsel. Now a Judge Amidst in Washington just ordered the government to provide a public transcript of a voicemail communication between that Michael Flynn received from one of Donald Trump's attorney. encouraging him not to cooperate with federal investigators. And there are a number of other such communication, one of which actually the judge is currently mulling the idea of making it public as well, is Michael Flynn communication with his Russian counterparts. As I mentioned before, and I wrote about that, as more information are coming out, we're finding out it's becoming clearer and clearer by the day that the Republican legislators who have not been doing their job, the legislative job, which is to exercise oversight on the executive branch, will become one of the worst political party in the history of America, trying to undermine the Constitution. And they have been doing that since Donald Trump has been president. And they continue to do that in the form of sending false statements. People like Devin Nunes, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, they are actually at the forefront running this. And of course, Donald Trump Attorney General, personal attorney William Barr, also in his part is doing his part to continue to undermine the Constitution. And once again, as I mentioned before, if you want your children and your grandchildren to have a country which still has democracy in it, maybe it's time for you to start considering the fact that being a Republican is not such a good idea after all. Because as it stands, for the past 2 years in particular, Republican legislators have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they do not care about the United States of America, but much worse, they would destroy the Constitution if it becomes necessary for them to keep their job. So as far as democracy for the Republican Party, it just doesn't matter. So you take your pick. You want a country with democracy, or you want a Republican Party? If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged. Because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican. Because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point, the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. So if you are a Republican and you think it's okay, then you too are no patriot. There is no other word of saying it. No matter what you hear people saying, trying to sugarcoat, trying to go around to explain it to you, that's all it means. If you are okay with what is currently going on with Donald Trump, with the Republican Party, you categorically are not a patriot. And no matter what you think of yourself, you are not a patriot. Because a patriot is someone who would give or who would make sacrifice sometimes of his or her own life, let alone sacrifice a political party in order to preserve the democracy, in order to preserve the Constitution, in order to preserve the rule of law. So if you cannot do that, don't talk to anyone about being patriot, because you are no patriot. When we elect, when we go to the poll and vote for elected officials, we expect those elected officials to actually do things on our behalf. A government for the people, by the people. We vote for them by the people. And when they get there, they do things that benefit us for the people. But because also of our very action that Democrats constituent are fighting Republican constituent, then the elected official enjoy this fight, the weaknesses that we have, so they don't have to do anything, because when it's time to vote Republican back in office, you vote Republican because you're Republican. No matter what, whether they accomplish anything or not, it doesn't matter. And that's exactly the point. Now, this is a bullet train, and it's called surge because it's fast. It's extremely fast. Now, this is a picture of a train in Japan. Japan in particular has been at the forefront of this technology, has been building, refining, remodeling not only that modus of transportation, but they also have been redesigning the train track system in order to make it faster and faster and faster. Now, here's an interesting fact, and that's not. It's something really, really. If we could get that here, and that's where I'm heading with that, because in the news, it was a piece of news that came not too long ago. In fact, it could have been yesterday. Getting to think about it, that there was a $929 million grant that the federal government was going to give to the state of California in order, well, to begin this project of a bullet train. And the Trump administration just canceled that. Now, of course, they give a bunch of reasons. The project was, the federal government canceled it, but we know that the detail behind it is because Donald Trump is in some kind of rift with the Democrat in California, so he decided, as the President of the United States, since he controls the federal budget, he's just not going to give the money. Now, when we have elected officials who use their power, their position to hurt the country, because Donald Trump is not hurting California. Donald Trump is hurting the United States of America. And the reason I brought that up is because, for some reason, Republicans and Democrats alike, they have this mindset that if an elected official do something, they support that elected official as if the elected official is right. Because the elected official is Republican, so if Donald Trump does something, hey, let's support Donald Trump because he's Donald Trump. No, it doesn't work that way. This is one country, the United States of America. Now, the trend that we're talking about, that I started to talk about, let me give you the lay of the land so that you have an idea. Currently, well, as of 2018, the bullet train in Japan, we're not talking about something they're going to build. That's something that's currently here in existence. The bullet train in Japan, prior to 2018, in fact, it's 2016, 2017, the bullet train could travel from a city called, from Tokyo to the city called Nagoya. And the train could travel that distance in 100 minutes. That's 1 hour and 40 minutes, almost 2 hours. Now, the place we're talking about, the distance we're talking about is 10,000, well, actually, let me give it to you in miles. It's 6,734 miles. So the bullet train in Japan travels 6,734 miles in less than 2 hours. Now, to put it in perspective for you, New York to California is only 2,913 miles, which means the distance from Tokyo to Nagoya is almost 3 times that. Almost, it's not 3 times, but it's almost 3 times that. So New York to California is 2,913 miles. You know how long it would take to travel by car from New York to California? Remember, it's only 1/3 of what I just mentioned. That the train in Japan made in less than 2 hours. If you were to travel by car, it would take 43 hours, which means almost 2 days. If you travel by plane from New York to California, it will take 5 hours and 20 minutes, even by plane. Now that same distance in 2017, that train did in less than 2 hours. But guess what? In 2018, they refined the technology, both the track and the train, and now they can travel that same distance in 43 minutes, less than an hour. And the United States of America, our government, who is supposed to be working to make our lives better, now we have Donald Trump canceling federal fund grant to help one of the cities at least implement that technology, which means once we get that technology on the ground, then the sky would be the limit. What did Donald Trump do? Cancel it. And guess what? Donald Trump people say, yay! Let me remind you that the next and last segment will be about what happened if we shrug off tyranny. And tomorrow we will be talking about 2 very controversial issues, which is war on blacks and criminals with badges. War on black, those are 2 topics that are somewhat related. We will talk about war on blacks and criminal with badges. You are on the 4th Branch program, the place for common sense.
Donald Trump is wrong to call the media the enemy of the people. Throughout history, dictators, authoritarians have always tried to delegitimize the media in order to get away with corruption, scandal, and yes, even abuse. Adolf Hitler did exactly the same thing in 1933, accusing the media of fabrication. Journalists are not in the business of fairness. Our only business is to be objective. It is our duty to hold Trump and every administration accountable. Today, it is urgent. It is necessary. It is critical. Our very freedom depends on it.
That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again at the top of the hour. I am MD, host of the 4th Branch program. the place for common sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. See you in just a bit.
The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.